Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I think I have been seeing a lot of references to the UN Sustainable Development Goals through the startups presentations today. So I just want to share a alarming fact about SDGs. So 2023 is actually a special year for the UN SDGs because it actually marks the halfway mark to 2030, by which we are supposed to have accomplished 100% of all the 17 SDGs. Earlier this year, the United Nations actually takes stock of the progress towards the SDGs, and we are at 15%, 1-5. So 7 years has passed, and we are at 15. So we have a lot more to do, 85% to be exact, to be able to reach all the ambitions of the SDGs. The good news is that according to the Southeast Asia Green Economy Report this year by Temasek, Bain, and Amazon Web Services, Vietnam has been among the top 3 investment destinations for green investments in 2022. And that is how I think we are very privileged today to be joined by our regional investors who have a very strong focus on impact and sustainability investments. We have Angela from AgFunder, Max from Sopoong Ventures, as well as Wai Chiew from Heritas Capital. So to get us started, I would like to invite our investors to give us a brief introduction about what it is that they are looking for and doing, as well as considering how all of you have invested in startups in Vietnam. What has been your favorite moment with the startup ecosystem in Vietnam to date? So Angela, I would like to get started with you first, as always, ladies.
Thank you so much. And good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank the organizers for having me here as well. My name is Angela. I come from Singapore. I work for a agri-food tech and climate tech focused venture capital firm that's headquartered in the US. So we've got offices in San Francisco and Singapore. We typically invest in early stage startups, anything from pre-seed up to Series A. And I guess to answer your question about my favorite moment, we have 2 investments in Vietnam. I help to manage a portfolio of more than 40 companies around the world. So my first, and first is always most memorable, right? My first investment is into a startup here that's called thách, that's more than 2 years ago. So thách is an agriculture startup. They basically develop solutions so that help shrimp farmers around Vietnam farm shrimps more sustainably and farm shrimps better. Yeah. So I think it's a moment. The moment is more like a year, to get to know the company better, understanding the technology, making sure that the technology is a solution that this market doesn't have and actually really need. And the market for agriculture in Vietnam is absolutely huge. And then also, most importantly, as investors, we're really investing into excellent startup founders. And in Phong, the founder of thách, we really managed to meet someone as talented as him. Yeah. So, technology, market, and talent. Yeah.
I hope there will be more tap backs for you in Vietnam and the region. Moving from Singapore to Korea, Max, would like to invite you next.
Thank you. And good afternoon, everybody. My name is Max from the Sopoong Ventures, which is one of the first impact investor in Korea since 2008. Since then, we have invested over 130 early stage startup, mostly in Korea. But these days, we started our investment regional coverage into South Asia from last year. So we already have 3 portfolios in Vietnam and Singapore, Laos, New Zealand as well. As an impact investor, in my case, it is more the personal experience. Actually, before COVID-19, we invited around 20 entrepreneurs from Vietnam to Jeju Island. And we had a lot of soju bomb overnight. So through that experience, we became very close friends each other. So in my case, although I am having a relationship as an investor with entrepreneurs, but in the end, that relationship should be a friendship, even beyond the nationality or our gender. So for me, impact investing is also like that. It's kind of making a close friendship between us and the nature. So friendship is one of my favorite moments. Yeah, thank you.
I have a quick tip for those who want to work with Max. K-pop is a big thing for Max. So if you are a fan of New Jeans or BTS, that will be a good icebreaker for you. And Wai Chiew, could I invite you next as we are...
Yeah, thanks for having me here. Heritas Capital is an impact investing platform. We run 7 funds. We invest in what we deem as impact sectors like healthcare, education, sustainability, and agri-food tech, right? So these are areas where both on the social and environment front, we feel that will make a lot of difference to the communities that we invest in. So we now handle more than 40 investments, and actually the most memorable has been in Vietnam. We invested in a private national education company called BHL, and they have opened like close to 50 campuses now for private national education. The great moment for me is to visit the schools and see the happy children doing things that they like to do, right? That really speaks to me. We also invested in a clinic chain called Joe Health. And again, seeing people getting medical treatment in a comfortable clinic environment also speaks to me. And now, obviously, we are looking for investments in sustainability in Vietnam as well. That's why I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Wai Chiew, I want to continue on that note with you. Why Vietnam and why sustainability startups for you and your fund?
Yeah, good question, Tuan. First, I think Vietnam is one of the most dynamic countries and economies in Southeast Asia. And for us, we have been invested in other countries like Indonesia, China, India. And I think Vietnam holds great promise, right? In the midst of a geopolitical change that we are all aware of, I think Vietnam should be a very big winner. And I think the people here are hardworking and determined to shape a very good future for themselves. So I just feel very confident about this country's future. And sustainability, as Tuan mentioned and cited the numbers earlier, I think is increasingly a big topic for Vietnam. And I'm sure Vietnam will be one of the leading places to show the rest of Southeast Asia how sustainability should be implemented.
Thank you very much. And that is a very good signal for our Green Innovation Fellowship this year. Angela and Max, do you share Wai Chiew's thinking? And what else would you want to share with the Vietnamese startups ecosystem in sustainability as they continue to look for opportunities?
Oh yeah, very little I can add to the excellent, discussion points that Wai Chiew has already mentioned. If I may just add 2 points, if you look at the macro trends, there are 2 trends which, kind of like sync with our investment thesis. One is looking for solutions for climate change. And with regards to that, a lot of that can be applied in the food production supply chain. And to that end, then we look at the key markets where, agriculture actually plays a big part. And in Asia, Southeast Asia, Vietnam is one of the world's largest producers of, crops as well as protein production. And then linked to production is also, we look at demographics, right? There's the rural to urban continued migration. Then there's a not so digitized agricultural production supply chain. So what you're going to be seeing is, you're going to need digital solutions, and technology to be applied in food production, and you're going to need, you're going to need startup founders to try and develop solutions that can be applied in the fields, in the ponds, etc. Yeah, and I guess the second part of the question is what little advice that we can give to startup founders here, right? I think. I'm quite happy to learn of the diaspora of Vietnamese from overseas coming back to the country and contributing to the growth of the country. I think that's really, really good to help the country reach high income status in the next decade. Looking at solutions that have worked in other countries and taking those solutions and trying to, I guess, localize that for local context, right? Don't just take a solution that works in the market and just apply without any localization in your market. understand your market really well, know who the local partners possibly are, and develop a solution that works in your market.
I would like to just add a small idea. As an emerging market, Vietnam has a lot of potential, as the other panelists mentioned. So I think I don't need to add more. But in terms of social impact, impact investing aiming to cover the marginalized people. So under the UN, the famous the mantra is no one left behind. So in terms of that, I think there are a lot of opportunities and role for social entrepreneur, not just entrepreneur. But when we add social or impact to investing or the innovation, I think we can cover more, and even we can cover bigger market opportunities, and even we can cover more, the beneficiary, just beyond the customer. So in terms of that context, I think Vietnam has a lot of potential in both ways. Yeah.
Actually, Max, thank you very much for bringing that up. I think I want to ask our three investors here a difficult question, which I did not share with them in advance, by the way. So globally, impact investments have actually crossed the $1 trillion mark for the first time last year. But in Asia, we only accounted for less than 2% of that big pile. So the capital pipeline for impact investments is not yet mature in our part of the world. And yet now we are entering a funding winter for the startups ecosystem across the world. What would be your advice to sustainability or impact startups who are starting out at a very early stage, many of whom have just presented to us earlier, so that they could continue? And what it is that you think you can help to support them along the way? It's difficult, so Wai Chiew, I think I'll start with you.
Hey, thanks, Tuan. You always give us very difficult questions. I would just say that we have met many startups across Asia trying to do impactful work. And we as funds also have to raise funds, right? Not just the startups, but we as impact funds also face the winter together with the startups. So I like to tell the startups that, look, you are not alone. We are with you on this journey. And in many ways, when we meet potential investors into our funds, we are in that sense aggregating the challenge of fundraising for our startups. That makes it very meaningful, rather than our startups having to convince the direct investors. But when investors put money through us, we are really doing the work for fundraising so that we in turn allocate to the startups that we feel are doing meaningful work. Now, impact investing, as my panelists will also confirm, is not easy because you do have to measure outcomes and the metrics a little bit more carefully. And so when we talk to emergent investors into impact investing, such as family offices, foundations, we need to present the story and the outcomes a lot more carefully than non-impact investing. And so that is a challenge, but I think we could all work together towards realizing that for Asia. And it's very important because Asia has the largest population compared to any region. And our growth is more dynamic than any other region. And we are still polluting the environment unlike other places. So there's a lot of work to do. It's both an opportunity and also a crisis. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for one of difficult question for us. I'd like to use the remarks from the Bill Drayton, the founder of AgFunder Foundation. He said, social entrepreneur is not just to give fish or teach how to fish. They should aim or they should contribute to innovate whole, the system of fishing. I mean, in terms of that approach, I think, when there is innovation, don't worry about the funding or financial support because, we always seeking to innovative way to change the whole system, especially as an impact investor. So even though there is only the tiny amount of money coming to the impact investing ecosystem compared to broad, general the financial sector, I believe it is growing. So of course, as an entrepreneur or even as an investor, we should persuade our approach with figures like the KPI, GMB, profit. But before that, you should intend or you should persuade your way as a tool to innovate the whole system. I think then, we are open to invest. Yep.
Not quite sure what additional points I can add to that, but just my 2 cents. You mentioned about it being a 1.16 trillion market. The market is huge. And out of that market, what you're seeing is 55% of the investors are based in Europe. 35% are based in the US. So more than 90% of the investors that make investments into impact investing startups are not from Asia. So for the startups out there who are fundraising, you know where to go and look for your investors, right? There are not so many of them in Asia. Cast your net a bit wider. That's one. And two, overall, in the last couple of years, private equity and VC investing has been down. But for impact and those numbers are down 40%, 50%. But impact investments, right, that's only down 7%. And this tells you that the sector is actually quite resilient. The impact investors still has plenty of dry powder to deploy, and they are out there, on the wings waiting for very good startups to invest in. So could be a bit challenging to fundraise, and it's probably going to take a bit longer, maybe twice as long for you to close the funding rounds. But just make sure you have sufficient runway for yourself when you think about your fundraising, right? Don't have 2-3 months of runway and then start panicking, right? Start panicking maybe 6-9 months in advance.
But thank you very much, Wai Chiew, Max, and Angela. But I have to say that Max and Wai Chiew and Angela, I really appreciate your openness to actually interact with startups that we have been referring to you over time. That has been very, very encouraging to the startups at the early stage for us. And I think that we are coming to a close of our session today. And I want to also hear your thoughts on how it is that Vietnam could actually make it easier for you to actually deploy your capital here, invest in the startups in Vietnam. You are not based in Vietnam, but your interest level is already there. What would be that one thing or something that you think would help to make it work for you? Angela?
It was really good to hear from corporates, government presentations all morning. Really, really good for external investors like us to know of the directionally where the government is going, where the government wants the country to go. So that gives us a lot of assurance to continue to invest in the market. Now, as investors, we also hope to take the startups as well as the corporates along with us on this journey. So maybe corporates could see investors, external investors like us, as the conduit to helping you innovate and digitize your supply chain.
I would like to emphasize the role of public sector. I mean, even to promote impact investing, I think government should take the key role. When we review the Korean case, the Korean government made a strong supporting role in 2007. And in 2017, they allocated about over the 100 million US dollar for impact investing from the government side, and even the government made some supporting role for tax cut for impact investing as well. So I know the impact investing should be led by private sector, but at the initial stage, the government should take role. So for Vietnam market, I think we should make some pressure on government side and politicians, and then
you should invite them to Jeju.
Yeah. In near future, we are planning to host some event in Korea for promoting impact investing and the climate tech in Vietnam. And even we are preparing to invite you all to Korea soon. Thank you.
Well, Max, I love to go to Jeju. Please
Yeah.
include us. Yeah, I will just add very briefly. I think government policy is good, and also to help on some co-investing is great. I will just also add, in the interest of time, that a lot of such forums and participation by people like Tuan, who is so passionate, and AWS, who is so willing to share the resources, promote the innovation, and also helping to accelerate and introduce promising startups. These are invaluable for many of us as foreign investors, being able to come in efficiently, effectively, get a sense of the market, and know what are the future directions we should invest into. So very grateful to Tuan and AWS for being so supportive of such events. As of course the organizers as well, being so welcoming. I really love the roses.
Thank you very much, Max, Angela, and Wai Chiew.